call City Hall to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's been a while since we've had a full house. First item on our agenda this evening is public comment on any matter that is not on our agenda under the city's jurisdiction. Is there public comment?
Yes. Hi, I'm Lauren McLaughlin. I spoke with you guys a couple weeks ago about our project for Big Sky Big Leadership. We are resurfacing the tennis courts. And I thought, for some reason we thought we were on the agenda tonight, but we'll start here and see where we go. So we did get approval from the trust board today for a $30,000 grant to help us resurface those tennis courts. We have filled the cracks, and a couple questions came up. Again, I'm just gonna go through them, and then if we have to put them on the agenda, just so we have a starting point. One of the first questions was, does the city have any funds to contribute at this time? Is the city able to maintain the park after project completion? Can we expand our project to be a McCarthy Park facelift, including the tennis courts and basketball courts? And then having signage on the fence for use of the facilities, or to get lost basketballs to call the sheriff's office. So, I know I fired those off pretty quick, sorry.
Well, we will have to take that up at a council meeting, so we'll need to get you on the agenda.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
How did the filling the cracks go, though?
I think it's going well. I think there are a couple that were bigger cracks, and so those are going to need to be filled a little bit more. But the tennis team has been practicing on it and playing on it, and they're very appreciative. They can already tell a huge difference. So far so good.
Okay, thank you. Would you leave a copy of the questions?
Yes,
for
I
us,
will.
please?
Yep.
Leave those with Carrie.
I sure will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment at this time? Okay, council has had the minutes from the April 1st, 2025 minutes. Are there any corrections or additions to those minutes? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion that we accept the minutes as.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from April 1st, 2025. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. Mr. Beck, you're up next.
Thank you. Mayor Rouser and city council members, thank you for allowing me to spend a few minutes to discuss a little bit the 2024 year in terms of kind of water quantities with the city. I would direct you first to the first page of the handout that I gave you, which kind of gives an overall picture of what the supply or the water that's drawn from the wells is in the red line, and then the green and purple, which kind of run together, and we'll look at those in a little more detail in just a minute, represent basically what's going from being pumped from the lift station and then going into the river. So as treated effluent. Just a couple of notes on the supply part, the red line on the graph you're looking at. The meter for well number 1, for the most part, didn't function last year. So if you look there toward the end of May and into June, it looks like we hardly pumped any water. In fact, that it was probably, if not the highest, it was in the neighborhood of the highest withdrawals probably for the year, and that's because well number one wasn't being recorded. And part of that, you'll also notice, starting in about October, the withdrawals are less than the water being presently passed through the lift station on out the river. And again, that we know that's not correct, and that's primarily due to that water not being accounted for from well number one. Now, my understanding is, as part of the upgrade, that meter will be replaced and upgraded. And we're just, I guess, have to be patient and wait for that to happen, but that will give us a better picture once that goes in. If I could direct you to the second page, the back of the first page, I said we'd take a little closer look at the lift station in the lagoon. And really, there's a few days when it appears that one is a little higher than the other. Part of that is typically they read these in the mornings, but sometimes they get jammed up and it doesn't get read until the afternoon or something like that. And so you're comparing a half a day to a day and a half right next to each other, so you see a high and a low sometimes in those instances. But as I mentioned last year, since we've gotten the new wastewater system, those meters track a lot closer together. We expect them to track pretty closely. Maybe, well, even now that with the covers on the ponds, there probably is not too much evaporation. There probably is a little more evaporation later. So that's kind of a quick overview of the kind of the city water system itself. I didn't do a summary of the contribution from the separate wells because of the meter problem. I can give you numbers, but they really aren't numbers that mean too much, so there's no sense presenting them, I don't think. If you turn to the third page, the green graph, we monitor the river when or the side channel of the river, I should say. When the river gets low, this graph, notice is what we call daily mean. So I have a device that's put in the river that essentially records the level every half hour. So there's 48 readings a day, and those 48, the discharge associated with those 48 readings is averaged and presented as one number for each day on this graph. And obviously our concern is not how high it goes, but how low it goes in this instance. So you'll notice there's a couple in late July and then about the 7th, 8th, 9th of August where things look pretty low. So if you want to turn to the next page, what I did there is actually graph those discharges from the 30-minute interval, so you get more of a continuous discharge. And for several days, for a period of time, there was zero discharge or near zero discharge. Now, my observations at a couple of those times when this graph would indicate zero discharge, there were times when water wasn't entering from the river on the upstream side. So there was no, it really isn't diverted, but there was no flow being diverted from the river into the side channel. However, there was a minimal flow from water seeping through and out of the gravel in the river. It wasn't much, but there was. The other thing is, you'll notice on this graph, is that except for between the 9th, or in the night, on the 9th and 10th of August, it stayed pretty low continuously, but other than that, there were times of the day when the flow surged up fairly well, and that was, you may be aware that they surge water, in other words, fluctuate the flow at Madison Dam on the Madison River for fishery purposes, and that follows down, so we see cycles here when they're doing that, and that's really what's represented. And without looking back, I can't tell you exactly. Apparently they didn't do any flows, maybe it was a little cooler or something in a couple of August days. But we did have, this is the first time since I've monitored that there's actually been zero flow coming from, diverted from the river in this instance. And as that happened, I tried to discuss that with Eric and let him know that was happening, so he was aware of it as it transpired. The last graph is just a groundwater monitoring that on one of the observation wells, originally dewatering wells down at the lift station. All I can say is this year was a pretty boring year in terms of groundwater. There was some slight fluctuations here and there, but we really didn't get a peak. I measure at least one other place here in town, and kind of the same thing happened there. So it was, I guess, in terms of doing construction work or having basements flood, that's probably a good thing. But so I guess that's kind of a real quick summary of what presented, or what I came up with. There's more to it there. There's a lot of tables that where this information comes from. Eric had an opportunity to review that, and once he reviewed it and was comfortable with everything was in order, I did send that on to Robert Petch and Associates. They've had it for, I guess, probably a month and a half now. I would like to thank Eric and his staff for their support for different things I need. Always real helpful, and with working with me and making little allowances for my comings and goings, especially when I'm making down in the year. And I hope that I continue to work with them in 2025. Are there any questions?
Any questions from council members?
Just fine. Thank you.
Jim, I just have one on the graph that showed those zero flows.
Sure.
What does that mean in terms of the city's sewer system?
Well, I'm really not in a very good position to answer you whether, you know, what DEQ thinks of it. I'm sure that it's not what we want to see. And I don't mean to be evasive. I think you already do that. But, and in the past, we've avoided having that situation. I guess if I were pressed, I would argue that with the exception of that 2-day period in 9th and 10th of August, that while there may have been some real localized accumulation when there was virtually zero flow, that had an opportunity to flush out with you know, it wasn't a flood flow by any means, but there was certainly adequate flow for a part of the day too. So I didn't directly answer your question because I really don't know.
Close enough.
I really don't know what the administrative folks would how they would view that.
as I recall, this is processed water that's being discharged for redistribution to the river, basically
Yes.
getting rid of our overflow.
Mhm.
So the issue isn't really one of danger to the environment or danger to the city, it's just that you have an accumulation of processed water isn't necessarily as pure as Mother Nature might have done it. So we want it to mix quickly is the goal. 2 days I can't believe would be a threat. Otherwise our process is pretty bad. Would you agree, Eric?
To the most of my knowledge, yes, I would agree. Cause you're right, the thing that really saved us was how Hepkin would release water, you know, in those days, so. And like you alluded to, yeah, our flow at those pines was extremely low, but we did still have that come up just that little bit and go through that side channel,
So it
so.
wasn't washing through the-
Yeah, and then I did really look into the permit during that time, and there was nothing in our permit that said that we were in violation. So I just kinda kept monitoring it with Jim, not nearly to his extent, of course, I just did a visual, a couple times a day, but we don't have the equipment. That's where he comes in huge, for us, and I greatly appreciate everything you do for us, Jim. I can't imagine trying to build graphs and keep track of that like you do, so I greatly appreciate it. So.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks. Any other questions? Any questions from the public? Okay, thanks.
It's okay, I've got conservation district meeting, so, thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim. Sean Simon, your quarterly report?
Well, I'm good happy with but we've had a few runs, not too many. We had a lot of, propane calls, I guess, gas calls, gas stuff over the winter, that's to be expected, that happens. We dealt with our frequent flyer on South Harrison again. I have to get with the compliance officer to see what we can do there. It was contained to a fire ring, but there's plastics and household stuff, so, hopefully that'll get under check here before too long. But, other than that, I'm not gonna use the Q word, cause as soon as I do that, we'll be busy, so. It's been really good. On another note, the, Big Sky Little Pantry, we asked them to come to our meeting, and we found a location out back for it to go. Rural was okay with it too, Ed was there, we discussed it, everybody was on board with it, so, I believe it was that night, they came and put it up out back, so it's a good location that's out of our way, people can access it really easily and whatnot. I hope it gets used the way it's supposed to. I did see a post where somebody took everything out of it, so it had to get restocked again, so hopefully it went to good use. I do have, our, budget sheet that I'll give you afterwards, just so you guys can look it over and whatnot. It's gonna be high, and there's a reason for that. Our SCBA compressor is on downhill. It's old, it's in the 2000s, it doesn't get used that much, but with these higher pressure bottles, it has stressed it. It's only good for 5,000 PSI, and we're filling our bottles to 4,500 PSI. We started doing that, and now we've got an air leak in the back, and we can't possibly get parts for it anymore, cause it's too old. Now, that would be a shared cost between city and rural, because we both use it. On the low end, it's 70,000 that would get split between us. But I'm gonna try to factor that into the budget, it's not a for sure thing, but when you see it, that's why we're gonna be a little higher. And our SCBA bottles are the same way, we're trying to go with the 30-year bottle, that's $1,800 a piece to go with those. I'm not gonna try to replace them all at once, but I'd like to get a couple in and kick a couple of the old ones out so we can stay updated, cause those bottles that we got are only good till 2027. So that was my plan, was to try to get a couple of these in. On the low end, they're $1,400 for a normal one, and they're only good for 15 years. Might as well go with the 30-year, get some more life out of it. Yeah, other than that,
Thank you. Are there any questions from council?
Yes, I have one. How many current fire members do you have in the city?
yeah, let's see, maybe
12.
12.
And how many are actively responding? 12.
12.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Any questions from the public? Okay, thank you. Next item on our agenda is a dart tournament. Mr. Fuchs.
Yes, hello. So we have the 26th or 27th, I think it's 27th, I think they screwed up on their calendar. Pt1 Memorial Dart Tournament coming up in May. And it runs Friday, Saturday, Sunday, May 16th, 17th, and 18th. It's running between 4 bars, the Commercial Bar, the Mint, Betsy, and the Legion. Usually there's 50 to 54 teams, about 200 to 250 people showing up for this tournament. Only about 10 of them are local. So that's about 200 new people coming into town every weekend. The problem is, as everybody knows in Townsend, is there's no place for anybody to stay. So a lot of these guys like to bring their camper, and they did it for 20 years. Now there's a policy that you can't camp for more than a day or two in the city limits. We were hoping that maybe for that weekend we could get that extended, that we could camp through Friday through Monday. I have talked to Robert Pesha, who owns the lot next door. He's fine with us parking a few people next door if the city allows it. They've always parked at the park there years before. Obviously they have to clean up after themselves. If they don't clean up over here, I will personally do it, but they're also told if they don't clean up, they're not allowed back in the tournament. And they can be banned for life if they act like they did a few years ago when another bar ran it, when they parked at the school and got upset. So that bar is completely out of the tournament, and the tournament fundraiser people is 21 and over in the tournament. This is the 3rd biggest tournament of the year. They really take the matters into their hands, and they spend a lot of money in the community for that weekend. So we're hoping that we can get camping allowed from Friday through Monday morning. But a lot of them like to stay over Sunday night if they have to go late, so that's what we're asking.
Dates again?
The 16th through 19th would be the Monday.
May.
Yes, so it's a week before Memorial Day, if I remember, and a week after Mother's Day. That's kind of the week we hit every year, is right in between those two, so it doesn't affect both. And a lot of people come in Friday afternoon, not a lot of people play Friday night. But there are some that leave Sunday, you know, the ones that lose out early, but the ones that stay late, I mean, last year we went until about 11 o'clock at night, so those ones would stay until Monday morning, and then wanna leave, you know, after, if they have breakfast somewhere, which is hard on Mondays, but try to find some place to eat and then get out of town.
Questions from council? Yes, Nate.
I mean, I know you can't answer this by the number, John, but how many people are like in the finals like you guys were? Is it like 4 teams, 8 teams?
There's usually 4 divisions, and the finals are 2 teams per division, so that's, you know, 8 people per. So the latest groups, you know, you're looking at 32 people in the late groups, but you also have that group right before them, so there's 64 people that stay all the way till the end. So there's 64 at least that don't lose out, that have to be here for the last hour and a half to 2 hours of the tournament, so.
On Sunday.
The majority on Sunday, like, you lose probably half by 2. So there's still 100 to 140 playing or staying. And last year, what was really nice is everybody, I mean, Nate and his family were watching us the whole day at the Mint and then traveling with us. Everybody stayed and watched last year and went around town, and now with Full Belly being reopened again and everything else, that's, I mean, the food is just insane. People trying to find places to eat, people trying to find places to stay. The poor Mint, I don't know how they served everybody last year.
We bring in family to help that weekend. But
For the
it's-
record, you are,
Andre Pavel, owner.
thank you.
But yeah, we bring family in to help both sides. I mean, it's, for us bars, it's one of our biggest money take-in on that weekend for the year. I mean, we do good Fall Fest too, but this is a big thing for the bars and stuff.
Yeah, and it's a
not
great
just-
time.
And, you know, a lot of people go to town pump, Bob's, you know, and all that, so, you know,
And it's nice if we can keep people in town, because then they wanna
Yeah.
stay and shop, and if they can stay here, they don't have to drive back. And some of these people are coming in from Idaho, Washington, Colorado. We had one team from Florida last year that just was traveling through that signed up. So there's a lot of people that travel through, and a lot of them come back. I mean, the tournament fills up usually, and if you're not previously in a spot, it's hard to get a spot, so. It's a very good thing for the community, and hopefully we can get a few more campers in. A lot of them do stay at the campgrounds right out of town where they can walk. I know they've done it for years, like I said, at the park, and then hopefully a couple here. I've talked to Cal Whitney, maybe a few in his field, it is weather depending, and he's fine with us parking a few behind his shop too, if it's approved. Chase has some private property that he puts them onto. It's just, we try to fit them where we can, we just don't want them at the school after that incident that happened before, where they parked at the school and just wouldn't leave. So we're trying to keep them away from that and not in front of other businesses. So we don't want them definitely on Main Street or anything.
Yeah.
We're thinking like park, behind buildings, areas that have room.
How, you have to remind me, cause it's almost a year ago, how did the collective we deal with this last year?
We called a little bit too late to actually deal with it here, because we asked, and I don't think Robert owned that lot next door, so Valley Bank owned it. We couldn't get a hold of anybody to ask permission last year. And we just found out, I think it was like on Thursday, we found out, because somebody parked there without asking, and they were asked to leave, and they got very upset with us, the bars, and I was like, well, you have to ask permission. You don't just go park somewhere, and they're like, well, we did it 5 years ago. So that person was kind of informed. Well, then they tried going to the park, and we're like, no, it's still in city limits. They were great, and they were only from Helena, which was the weird thing, but they ended up going to any of your campgrounds and staying. They ended up getting a spot there, but last year was kind of last minute. Somebody just came and did it, and that's when we found out there was no parking in town, no camping in town for more than 2 days, I think it is, or 3 maybe.
I think it's 3, I apologize for
Yeah.
not checking the ordinance.
I know it was either 2 or 3, so we were just asking for just that extra because we knew it might go till Monday. So if it is 3, we're really not breaking it too much, but we could be, so we just wanna ask ahead of time this year instead of last minute.
What do you have against JB?
It's my pen.
Are there other questions from council?